Hey, what's up? First off, the paint shop's free camera is now fully functional in the release build, and there's a handy FOV modifier you can use while in that free camera mode. Just hold the modifier and scroll to dial the field of view in and out, which opens up all kinds of framing options for screenshots and showcase clips. Also, if you happen to wander the camera into a weird angle and want the showroom view back instantly, hitting F5 will reset it to the default showroom camera, which is a small but welcome shortcut that saves a lot of time. Visually, there are a bunch of tiny fixes across the new cars and tracks introduced in the prior big release. Think less texture popping, a few corrected placements, and some tidying up of models so they behave more consistently when you toggle liveries or open the customization menus. The patch notes flagged a couple of specific fixes for fonts and UI elements too. The current lap font was occasionally overflowing the lap time widget, and that's been corrected so your HUD stays neat during broadcast runs. Beyond visuals, the team removed a duplicated dampers notification and replaced it with clearer text for in-car damper and differential adjustments, so the setup screen speaks plainly rather than repeating itself and making you wonder if something's broken. On the multiplayer and server side, there are practical improvements. The lobby page had an issue where it could become momentarily unresponsive after selecting a server, and that's been addressed. Less waiting swap fewer clicks that lead nowhere. Netcar leaderboards now correctly show tire compound information, which matters if you host races or run fleet sessions and want people to see who's on wets, intermediates, or slicks at a glance. Another fix that's important for people swapping hardware or using community content, if you have an old setup for the BMW M4 GT3 made with the previous 0.5 release, that setup could be invalid now, so the devs are telling folks to delete any previous 0.5 setups made for that car to avoid weird behavior. It's an awkward step, but better than chasing impossible lap times from an invalid baseline. On the networking side, server list refresh times and ping management got some love, and multiplayer stutters that could occur when another player joined, often tied to Fmod loading audio banks, have been smoothed out so your session doesn't hitch mid-race. There are some gameplay and functional quirks that were handled as well. The patch fixed situations where the DRS closed message could broadcast to all clients on a server rather than just the player who actually had DRS closed. So that confusing multicast message is now fixed and only the affected car gets the message. There's also an implemented fix to prevent the game from refusing to start if a redistributable package is missing or corrupt, which should help people who hit weird launch errors after driver updates or system tweaks. A few physics and aero notes are tucked in too. BMW M2 and M8 aero characteristics were updated. The notes specifically mentioned adjustments toward lift behavior rather than downforce. So if you drive those models, you'll want to be mindful of how the balance feels at different speeds. On a tiny but immersive touch, the poles in the Nürburgring car park now have colliders, so those curious camera passes or clumsy bumper brushes won't let your wheel clip through geometry in replay shots. Graphical stability got patched in a way that should help a large portion of players. The update implements fixes for several GFX glitches seen on NVIDIA and Intel hardware, though it looks like AMD-specific issues are still under investigation and may see follow-ups. So if you were seeing flickers or odd shading on those platforms, you might notice fewer problems after this patch, whereas AMD users should keep an eye out for the next round. Little quality of life bits are scattered throughout the build too. Period characters are now permitted in UI text fields, which makes naming things in the chat widget or custom HUD labels less annoying. The M4 GT3 will correctly default to wet tires when you pick a wet setup, and various fixes to replays, telemetry channels, and leaderboards close a lot of the small but persistent grievances people have been posting about. I know server admins and modders will appreciate the Steam Workshop queue fix. Previously, a failed item could stall the whole download queue, and that's been patched so your sessions and servers can update more reliably without manual intervention. There are also a handful of fixes aimed at stability when changing graphics presets mid-session and cleaning up audio clipping on some engine samples at high RPM for particular cars. Those were the little distractions that pull you out of a driving groove, and they're dialed back now. Overall, this feels like one of those housekeeping patches that doesn't remake the game but quietly removes friction. Camera control for creators, cleaner UI text, multiplayer smoothing, and a batch of visual tweaks that make the new cars and tracks sit better in the world. And if you're recording, streaming, or just trying to shave tenths off your best lap without odd UI or audio glitches getting in the way, this one adds up in a good way.